To you by the Johners Podcasting Network, found exclusively at wrestlingwithjohners.com. Good evening and welcome to another live episode of Wrestling with Johners, episode 241. And today I've got a fantastic guest for a Tuesday evening. It doesn't get much better than this. And with one half of the UBW Tag Team Champions, the Smashing One, Smashing Mike. Mike, how the devil are you, mate? Thanks for coming on the show.
Only one, baby.
Oh,
I'm feeling good, you know. I'm glad I'm here. Let's have some fun.
Oh, 100%. And I'm so glad to have you on the show. So much to talk about. And like I said, we're going to be covering UBW. You're starting the business, your wrestling fandom, the tag titles that you're holding at the moment. We're going to be talking about absolutely everything and the future. But if you want to get in touch with Smashing Mike, send in your questions, you can do live on air. Just ping them through to us on your chosen device, and we'll do our very best to answer every single one during the course of this live podcast interview. So, Mike, first of all, I've got to congratulate you. I think it was only a couple of weeks ago you became one half of the UBW Tag Team Champions. Now, let's bring up some pictures here because they deserve to be shown. But look at that with your partner, JT.
That's Mandem right there.
Oh, yeah. You've got the Wrestle Force Tag Team titles, which we'll talk about, but the UBW Tag Team Champions. That must be pretty special. Talk to us about winning the UBW Tag Team Gold and how special that means to you. What does it mean to be a UBW Tag Team Champion, Mike?
Feels great because one, I was a champion in that promotion before, but this what happened. It was a surprise. No one knew what was coming that day. None of the fans knew what was coming. Like I had to keep it quiet. I said, you know what? I'm gonna keep this low key. I am because no one since when I lost the title. Having maybe the best run with the Young Lion champion. Actually, I did have the best run. I did.
Oh, 100%.
So I had to I kept no one saw me in UBW for a while. So I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna keep a surprise. So I had to stay backstage. I said, you know what? Watch when I come. Bam! I'm gonna show everyone. Everyone knows who I am. I bring that energy in, and when we come along with JT, that's his debut. At UBW as well. So what a great way he made his debut winning one of the belts.
Oh, absolutely. And you mentioned that you've only been together for 8 months. So you and JT have only been together for 8 months, not too long at all. And already you've become tag team champions in 2 promotions. Tell us about how you and JT got together. When were you first introduced to your tag team partner, and how did you become a tag team, and such a good tag team at that, Mike?
One of the most promising tag team in the game right now. How this started is so lockdown happened, boom. Had a show, Wrestle Force. Then I got booked again. They said, "Hey man, you're gonna be in a tag with James Toner." I'm like, "Who's this guy?" I did. Then met him a week before. Cool brother, that's my guy. That's my bloodline. I'll do anything for that guy. Then we had a match. We lost by cheating. They cheated to beat us because that's the way you can beat the West Side Heat. You have to cheat to beat us. Then everyone's like, "Oh, there's something there with you two." I'm like, "Okay." That's the first fight. I said, "Okay." Got booked again as a tag. Then Then we both felt it. They're like, "There's something there." And everyone's like, "No, there's something there with you two." We don't live far from each other. We travel together all the time to shows. Then we was going home one time. This is around November. We're like, "Bro, why did you just make this consistent?" He goes, "Yeah, man, I'm up for it." Then we around November, we said, "Look, let's just make it a tag team. Let's just 2022. Let's just come and just break out a storm, man." And that's how it happened.
Oh, 100%. You've certainly done that. But so you mentioned in another social media post, and I'm going to kind of read this out, but there were 4 teams that you said you're destined to get back in the ring with. Do you remember those teams? You got the Rebellion, you got Destination Everywhere, the Lads, and the Bryant Bros. Why do you feel that you've got unfinished business with some of those teams, or what is it about them 4 teams that West Side Heat needs to finish?
This is the reason. I'm going to tell you why. Everyone, listen to this. There's reason why as I put these 4 tag teams. Like, let's start with Destination Everywhere. That match took me and Tony to a whole different level. Like, we wrestled some of the best, or maybe the best tag team in the game. To get a chance to wrestle with them, we won. It's a West Side Heat, baby. But we just thank OJMO, shout them out, OJMO and Connor Mill. We thank them so much.
Oh, what a team. What a team.
And like that match, when we won, backstage, everyone's like, what was that? Like, what was that? They're like, you and Tony are just up to a whole new level. It was just a response. The fans, they loved it. They were belonkers. But it was the backstage people, they're like, the wrestlers are like, what was that? Like, oh my gosh. Rebellion. So that was our RCWA debut. And we was on first opening. Of course, the West Side Heat are going to start hardcore. We're going to bring that heat. We were. And when we had that match, during that match, I was like, oh my days, this is chemistry right here. It clicked. All 4 of us came backstage like, oh my gosh, it just clicked. And we gave people 30% that we can do. So imagine the rematch. Just imagine that rematch. And we're like, it's a wrap. Game over. The lads, they're going to give us a side that people haven't seen from the West Side Heat. Everyone knows we can wrestle, we can work. Let's show them a different side. Maybe that meanness.
Yeah.
So the lads, as everyone knows, we're wrestling on the 12th. We love you lot, but we want to win. We're coming to
Jurassic
fight.
Pro, that's going to be a great match. The Lads versus West Side Heat, 12th of June. Jurassic Pro is absolutely tearing it up as well. A fairly new promotion there, but a few shows in, but doing some great stuff. And you're going to be there with your partner. And have we spoke about all the teams there? Was there one more team?
Yeah, one more team. Before I say that, a lot of people don't know as well. The reason I said this makes sense. The Lads versus West Side Heat. Both of us are tag champs in 2 different promotions.
Right.
People forget about that. Wrestle Force, Wrestle Heat, Wrestle Force, UBW, Lads, DOA, DNA.
Wow.
So that just sells alone. And also on Twitter, people were saying, oh, make this matchup. It needs to happen. It got announced and everyone's like, yo, I'm looking forward to it. So we're just gonna show them. All 4 of us got charisma. Can't teach it. All 4 of us got it. Let's just show it in the ring.
100%, absolutely. And the last team, wasn't it? The Bryant Brothers. Tell us about them. It's a team I'm not too familiar with, but educate me.
So, like, as you know, I wrestled Nino on the 15th of the 15th of May, this Sunday, in the singles in Ignite. And arguably, Nino, the person's not signed, maybe is the best high flyer in the game. He just tearing up himself. But people forget, people don't know that he's got a younger brother that's actually slept on as well.
Right.
A lot of people tend to forget that he's got a younger brother that's incredibly talented. So you just put us 4 in the ring. That's just something there, man. There's so much that just makes sense. Someone needs to book the West Side Heat versus the Bryant Bros. It will sell. And at the end of it, you're not going to be like, oh, I want some more of this.
Ignite would be a great home for that match for sure. And like I say, the 15th could be a preview of that, maybe.
I will bring so many people for that. They won't regret it.
Yeah, 100%. But Mike, I don't know if you remember, the first time we met was a couple of months ago at Sacrifice Pro. It was Sacrifice Pro versus UBW, wasn't it? So a bit of a crossover show. You were in the 4-way for the Young Lions title, a title that you're very familiar with, that you held for a long time.
It was my title. I own that.
It was indeed synonymous with the Young Lions title, but that was a lot of fun that day. Like I say, it was Sacrifice always does a great show for a fantastic cause, a charity promotion, of course, out of the Bedfordshire area. I was doing backstage correspondence, backstage interview there. You came along and, like I say, you made me feel welcome, kind of pulled me in, and I said, look, you know, we get on well, we've got to have you on the podcast. But tell us about that day, tell us about that match and the 4-way as well, because I think it was yourself, Hustle Malone, Alexander Roth, and one more, wasn't it?
Vinny
yes, Vinny Cray, of course. I love Vinny Cray. But to tell us about that match and tell us about that day, because you said it was your Sacrifice Pro debut as well.
Yeah, man, that was my Sacrifice debut. Go and get my belt back because I was tearing up with that was my belt. No one was touching me. It wasn't even. No one was even coming close. They know that was my belt. So I deserved to get it back. But I had to get it. I couldn't. Hustle was scared, so it had to be a 4-way, innit? But I can't lie. I was in the ring with 3 Italian people. I need to put Alexander Roth. That guy oozes charisma as hell, man. Like mad charisma that guy does. Someone needs to book me and Roth. Game over. That's what I'd say. But that was a great show. That was. I lost because Thing cheated to beat me again. He can't beat me 1-on-1. It's difficult. The way to beat the Smasher when you have to beat him by cheating is that you ain't gonna out wrestle him. You're definitely gonna get tired. You're gonna get blown. All right. It's hard to beat me by 1-on-1 without cheating. You're just gonna lose. So he had to beat me by using my belt that he used against me behind my back.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I say, Hustle Malone, still the UBW Young Lions champion. Let's have a look at the title bout there for those of you watching on video.
Right there.
It's a beautiful championship. Smashing Mike looking as dapper as always. But and like you say, you held that championship for close to 2 years, I've got to say. And the Young Lions bout and Smashing Mike, they were synonymous with one another. You know, you talk about one and the other one immediately follows, synonymous with one another. But and I think for a long time, you know, people felt that title was going to stay with you for forever. But you picked that title up just before lockdown, didn't you? Early 2020, I think it was about March. So probably one of the last shows before the country went into lockdown. So, I mean, obviously you love the Young Lions title. You want to get it back. Obviously you want that rematch against Hustle Malone. But tell us what that being the Young Lions champion meant to you then, Mike.
At the time, that meant everything to me because it's the way I won it. So me and Ricky Calvey, talented guy, but he ain't on my level. There's levels to this. Everyone knows that. Nice guy, but he knows the deal. So we had the feuds. We won at UBW's biggest show. Me and we was on first. We had the first match. That was my first. I wrestled Ricky Calvey in my UBW debut. He beat me by cheating again. I told you the way you had to beat the Smasher when you have to cheat. It's very you can't out wrestle him. You're gonna get tired when you're blown. It's gonna be, and you're definitely gonna strike him with my boxing skills. Remember my boxing background. So like he beat me. Then we had a rematch at WrestleMania 3. A lot of people liked it. I bring a lot of people for there as well. Because remember, Stevenage is not my hometown. I'm from West London, but I get a lot of people traveling to come and watch me. I did. So we had an incredible match. Won it. The roof blew. Like blue, won the belt. I'm like, yes, I'm gonna be a fighting champion. Lockdown happened.
Yeah, and that must have been a really frustrating time for you. Obviously, UK wrestling was closed down for well over a year and a half in some cases. And you being the Young Lions champion, you had this belt, you couldn't defend it, but you obviously a very accomplished athlete, and coming off of the back of probably your biggest, most successful year, 2020 was going to be another great year for you. You're a highly creative person, a very passionate person as well. How frustrating and demeaning was it where you couldn't kind of entertain and you couldn't do what you love to do best during that period of time?
Yeah, so it happened. I was just annoyed. I was like, I'm getting a bus. Because a lot of people tend to forget 2019 was I debuted in 2019.
You did.
2020, I won the belt. So I've done a lot of things. Don't forget, during that time as well, my first year, when I debuted, I did the pre-show in progress. A lot of people tend to forget about that as well. Actually, they didn't forget about that. It just, we had so many high views we did in our YouTube channel we did. Pandemic happened. I was annoyed. But I got some of my close boys, and a lot of people in wrestling know them, like Kaz and Axe. Everyone knows Kaz, Axe, and Zaire. Those are my guys, my bloodline. During that time, we were studying, well, me and Zaire, because we're big wrestling fans, and Tom Kyle. I gotta put Tom Kyle on there.
Oh, I love Tom Kyle.
That's my brother. I love him to death. During that time, we were studying wrestling. during the pandemic, like doing a lot. Of course, you couldn't meet each other for a while, but thank goodness technology is on our era. So we were doing a lot of Zoom calls studying wrestling. We were studying wrestling. Like we was going through a Ring of Honor phase, New Japan phase, WCW, NWA, AWA, even World of Sport was going through so much phases and watching, studying the game. There, when it started to open up, I was linking those lot the most: Kaz, Axe, Zaire, and Tom Kyle, and we do a lot of training together. But during that time, I was putting on a lot of size. It happened in lockdown, didn't it? I was putting on a lot of size, and I'm like, yes. As soon as I come back, it's a wrap for everyone. And during that time, I kind of find who Smasher Mike was. That early stage of my career, I was finding him. I'm thinking, what's he like in a ring? Even the entrance. During the lockdown, I clocked him. I said, when they came back, it's game over for British wrestling. It's gonna be hard to follow me after my matches. Hard, difficult.
I'll tell you what you've just said is utterly fascinating. Firstly, you said you were studying a lot of old wrestling, a lot of other promotions over different eras, different generations. What were some of the fundamental things that you kind of learned about yourself and maybe added into your game from that time away? Because you obviously a lot of time to reflect, a lot of time to plan, a lot of time to think about how you want to be viewed coming back out of lockdown. And what elements of your game did you add into it so that when you came back in 2021, it was a slightly more amped up version, maybe a slightly improved version of Smashing Mike compared to what we saw before?
The biggest one, I didn't say this, everyone came up to me, I put on a lot of size. So I give an example, when I won the title, I was 84 kg.
Right.
During lockdown, I blew up to 100.
Yeah.
I blew up to 100. But when I had my first title defense, it was September the 5th against Memes and Adam Ralph. I won. We sold the show. There's evidence there. I went back. I got up to 93 kg. I did, and everyone saw me. They're like, "Damn, Mike, what's up with you? Like, you put on some side." I said, "Bro, the people I've been training with, like I said, these 4 people: Tom Kyle, my guy, Zaire, Axe, and Kaz. We were grinding, like putting in that work." And it showed. And I'm like, hold on. But during that period of time, I wasn't sure a lot of people forget that I did amateur wrestling for 2 years. Couldn't compete. We'll get back. We'll get into another time. I got amateur wrestling background and a boxing pedigree. I was in the Frank Bruno boxing academy when I was a kid. I did. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to add those elements into it. And at the same time, people tend to forget wrestling's entertaining as well.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, you need to learn to be a mechanic to be a wrestler. But at the end of the day, people want to be entertained. Smashing Mike is an entertainer in and out of the ring. You can't teach it. You either have it or you don't. I got both.
Yeah.
I got both. And it's organic. I don't force this. This is just me. I just tone it up when I'm in the ring. Like, think of a volume. I just break it.
Oh man, absolutely one of the most charismatic guys on the UK scene at the moment. And but you said before lockdown you didn't really know who you were as a character or as a performer, as an entertainer. But during lockdown, you actually had like a realization. You figured out who Smashing Mike is or is meant to be. I know you just said that it's you 100% turned up a little bit, but you kind of had that realization and you had that clarity going back into wrestling in 2021 of exactly how you want to be presented. Is that right?
Yes, but also another thing is, I always ask every wrestler this because I got my answer. You got your favorite wrestlers, but there's these 4 wrestlers. I'll repeat, 4 wrestlers that influence smashing one in the ring.
Yeah,
and I'm going to tell you why. These 4 wrestlers: Bret Hart, Dean Malenko, Kurt Angle, Bobby Lashley. And I'll tell you why. Remember, as you know, the viewers don't know till now, I did amateur wrestling for 2 years. I was sparring high-class performers. I was. Remember, Bobby Lashley and Kurt Angle got amateur pedigrees.
of course.
And they use that in their wrestling, and they're still entertained by it. So let me use that as well. Dean Malenko, I just love his style, man. He's just in there to mean his business. He wants to win. Don't get twisted. At the end of the day, you want to be entertained, but at the end of the day, you want to win the match. The objection is to win. Smash One is here to win. So when I come out of the ring, When the entrance, I'm there. I'm going to show everyone entertainment. Well, as soon as that bell rings, ding, ding, the idea prize is to win. If the crowd might go for the other person, at the end of the day, you're going to cheer me at the end. You know why? Because I'm putting in the effort to show that I want to win this match. That's what Dean Malenko did. And Bret Hart is the GOAT. No one can't deny that. Bret Hart is the greatest. Who gave us the
100%.
best WrestleMania match? Bret Hart. SummerSlam, WrestleMania, WCW match, Bret Hart. Bret's a GOAT. Psychology-wise, and I took a lot from him. A lot.
Yeah. And touching on your style, then obviously you told us about your influences, but in the matches that I've seen you perform in, Mike, you've got so many different elements to your game. You're so dynamic. We're going to touch about your kind of connection with the fans in a minute, but when you go through them ropes and when you start performing, like I say, there's some high flying there. There's some power moves. There's some striking. You're very, very kind of versatile, and is that a style that's been with you since day one or developed over time? Did you come back with that in 2021? How has your kind of in-ring style developed to the point where we've got almost the total package?
Okay, a couple things. One, this is me, man. Like, I didn't want to show everyone at the start what I'm capable of. Otherwise, you get bored. Because everyone else like, Mike, I didn't know you can do this stuff. Shout out to Tom Kyle as well. If it wasn't for him, phenomenal. I wouldn't be the technical wrestler I am. Because me and him always make arrangements. Don't forget, me and him live super far away from each other. Without traffic, is an hour. He comes to my area, I go to his, and we always make time for train. No excuses. That's my bloodline. We don't make excuses to train. During that process, like, I'll help him with like the training. He'll help me with my technical ability. The Smash One is a technical wrestler. He wants to wrestle someone that can do the same thing. I'm ready. The last time I done it was a Tom Kyle, and people, it wasn't that me and Tom didn't say that. People called it a masterpiece, and we gave people 30% what we literally can do.
Yeah.
This book, the rematch is game over. But getting back to your question is, I always had this type of style. I had to choose when I want to do it.
Right.
Like, we talk about the high flying. People need to remember, my family and friends, some of them are not wrestling fans, but they make their time, effort, and money to come and watch me. So I give example, when I wrestled Mark Chews at Ignite, tore it up, and everyone knows we tore it up.
Great match.
One of my best friends, Tiffany, everyone I love, so that's my best friend, Tiffany. She traveled 2.5 hours to come and watch me wrestle. And I bring a lot of people, even people from the gym. I bring too many people there. I said, you know what? They see me do technical wrestling. They see me. They know I have boxing background. They know I got amateur pedigree. They don't know I can do high flying stuff. So I'm going to show them something. Did that. Everyone came up and was like, Mike, what was that? Yeah. I'm like, bro, I got so much elements. The Smash One dictates when he wants to do them. So when you're ready, peeps, when you wrestle me, I'm ready. You want high flying? You want technical wrestling? You want a crazy old brawl? Just watch the J. Josh match. You want technical wrestling? Tom Kyle. You want action packed? Watch Jack Landers and WrestleForce. You want you name it.
This man can mix it up with any style and anybody. And that's why I'm so glad I've got him on the podcast today, because he really is developing into one of the best all-rounders in the UK. And he's barely scratched the surface. But Mike, got to throw a quick sponsor's plug to our fantastic sponsor, 1310 Apparel. And they are not only the fantastic sponsors to this very podcast, Wrestling with Johners, but to the Johners Podcasting Network, which has 49 amazing YouTube and audio podcast channels from all over the world, including this very channel. And if you head over to 1310's store at Wrestle Merch Central, you can see their fantastic range of apparel, from their hardcore range of t-shirts and hoodies, their lucha range of t-shirts, hoodies, beanies there, and the more traditional 1310 and Four Corners apparel. And if you head over to their Wrestle Merch Central store, you can see the exclusive 1310 Heidi Katrina design, which is out and available now. And as a viewer and a listener to the Wrestling with Johners podcast, over on the Wrestle Merch Central store, you can take advantage of our deal with 1310, and you can get yourself 10% discount at checkout on any of that fantastic apparel that you've just seen. Just simply use the discount code 1310WMC, and that's 1310 apparel at the Wrestle Merch Central store. Use the discount code 1310WMC to save yourself 10% discount. And I think we'll all be heading over to Wrestle Merch Central to get discounts immediately after this podcast, Mike. I know I certainly will. But let's talk about your wrestling fandom then, Mike. We spoke a bit off air, and I think you told me that you've been a wrestling fan pretty much since birth. Tell us about your wrestling fandom, how you were introduced to wrestling, and kind of growing up a wrestling fan.
My dad, my parents, but my dad's a big influence on my two older brothers. They have always been a big wrestling fan. So everyone told me as a kid, Mike, I can see you do wrestling or boxing. I did both, continue with the wrestling, and things picked up really well. So I had wrestling action figures. I still got the DVDs. You know, VCRs,
Nice. I do too. I've got them all over the house.
Same, listen, everyone's got their own opinion, but I grew up with the best era, the late 90s of wrestling. To this day, people will never understand how massive it was as a fan. It was bigger than football in this country. It was so big. Going to school days, we used to have debates with WCW and WWF. Oh man, do you remember this? Oh, Goldberg will beat Stone Cold. No. DS is better than NWO. Are you crazy? Like it was madness back then. I had the WCW belt. My boy had the WWF belt. We unified it. Nice. I lost by Wars of Jericho. I did. He beat me. It was in our living room. We made it like a little ring. We put the pillows each side. We did. But I've been I'm still a wrestling fan, but I've been a fan since day.
100%. So you've mentioned some of the larger than life characters and Goldberg and Stone Cold, but who were your guys back in the day? You said you kind of the Attitude Era was your kind of era, one of the best eras in all of pro wrestling, we've got to say. But who were some of your standout characters that you really loved watching?
So as you know, I'm a big wrestling fan. So my 5 people when I grew up was The Rock, Goldberg, DDP. Remember him? How big he was. He was 100%. Massive back in the 90s. Sting, Stone Cold. Those are my 5 guys.
Nice.
As a kid, those are my guys.
Oh, 100%. And it's interesting to know that you enjoyed both WCW and WWF back in the day, because for me, I've got to be honest with you, it was one or the other. It was like Star Wars or Star Trek, know, WWF or WCW, and I was a WWF guy. I'm a WWF lifer, to be honest with you. I did enjoy the WCW products, but even I saw them as competition, being a WWF guy and a fan from an early age. But you enjoyed both products, which was great. Obviously, you weren't kind of influenced by kind of, one or the other. You enjoyed both, and that just proves how hard you fell in love with pro wrestling.
Big fan. I still watch this today.
Oh, mate. And I've got to say, talking about recent events, WrestleMania Backlash. Don't know if you had a chance to watch it. Great show a couple of nights ago by WWE. Some amazing matches on there. Yeah, no, you've got to catch it. I'm not going to throw you any spoilers, but you mentioned earlier, we're going to talk about your wrestling training in a bit, but amateur boxing, amateur wrestling. When did you get into boxing and amateur wrestling? Because they were obviously a big part of your life and still are a big part of your life, certainly the boxing. But when did you first start with those two?
So as a kid, as you know, everyone did football as a kid. Usually in school. It's around 13. Some of my friends did boxing. They're like, Mike, come. I'm like, no. I'm like, the first thing I said, I don't want to get hit. I was like, no way. Went to the gym.
Is too pretty.
You seen his face is way too pretty. And you can't teach you have it, I got my dad's genetic. People need to understand that.
100%.
Yeah, so went to the gym and it became a new addiction to me. So for 13 years old to 18 was my life, boxing. I studied boxing. I studied how it started. Who were the first champions? What happened during the World War. I studied boxing. Had a couple matches I did. Should have won the first one. I got robbed by the judges, okay? Everyone knows I won that match. I did. Went to the Frank Bruno Boxing Academy 2010. This one I was 16 years old for 2 years. Passed personal training, fitness, media. Did that. I did. Then fast forward years later, I did amateur wrestling for a while. I did. Because I just really enjoyed it. Because I'm a big MMA fan as well.
Yeah.
Did that. Done it for 2 yees. Injuries happened. Some stuff happened as well. It was a great time. I learned a lot because you can see how I've kind of got a fast track with pro wrestling because I had the amateur wrestling background.
Yeah.
I was like, these, I'm not lying to you. Like for a while, so I used to train. Monday, I'll train myself, work, then I'll go to East London to train for 2.5 hours, spar world-class champions on a Thursday as well. Come back, they'll do late night running at 2 a.m. They'll work the next day. I was doing that for 2 years straight, like literally bam, bam, and then we'll spar, like boom, 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 boom. That was my life for 2 years. Then that's how it happened. As you see, you can see me including those aspects into my pro wrestling career. You can see it a little bit.
Yeah.
I might not throw a lot of punches, but when I do, I'm going to cause damage because I know the technique. Boom, 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 boom.
And did you ever consider possibly taking up boxing as a career then?
Oh yeah, that was my life. I wanted to.
So you wanted to kind of go full time or go pro, and that was your desire before you kind of fell into wrestling, I suppose.
But people need to get it straight. I was a wrestling fan first. I did boxing as a kid. Like, remember, people when people who grew up with me knew two things: you're either going to do boxing or wrestling. Those were the options. I did boxing first because at the time, it was more easier to get into. I didn't know how to get into the wrestling business.
Yeah. So I mean, in the back of your minds, kind of the ultimate desire, the ultimate goal was to be a wrestler, I suppose. But how did you come across your wrestling school, your training school? Because a lot of people find it quite hard to find out where these schools are or to establish there's schools at all. They don't often advertise locally. So how did you find out that there was a school near you?
So what happened was around 2018, I was just lifting weights and I was just working at the time. I stopped because I had an accident on my moped. I had a moped accident in 2017, stopped for a while. Then I was like, oh no, I need to do this with my life. I need to go back to boxing or something. I need to do something. Lifting weights is cool, but that's not me. I'm very competitive. So I went on Instagram at the time. I was like, Hustle Wrestling. I said, what's this? You scroll through it. Wood Green. I said, that's not far from me. That's only 40-minute drive. I went there. I said to my sister, come with me quick. And I said, I'll treat you to breakfast. Come with me. It was on a Saturday morning. And I went there. First person I saw was Sis Scala. He welcomed me with open arms. I said, let me just get some information. He said, hello there. My name is this. He said, yeah, you're more than welcome. I said, I can't go next week because I pre-booked to go Newcastle with my guys. Then he's like, come the week after. I'm like, yeah, I'll come. Went there, was welcomed up to open arms. One of the first few people I met was Evie.
Right.
Maiden,
yeah,
the wrestler.
Of course.
And Tate Mayfair. Pound for pound, one of the best in the game.
He's tearing it up at the moment. He is. Yeah.
I met those two first. They welcomed me with open arms. This was 2018. I set foot into wrestling. That's the first time I've ever done it. And look where I am now.
Absolutely. And, just going from boxing, amateur wrestling through to pro wrestling, was the transition hard for you? Or did those kind of backgrounds in those two sports make it a bit of an easier transition? You adapted well, or did you find it hard?
It wasn't hard at all. I'm not being boastful because people need to understand is one of my good friends is Kaz. I've known him for over 12 years. So me and him, when we were younger, used to do 8-mile runs, come home. When it like at the time we went to college, innit? So we used to do 8-mile runs, go home, have a nap, then go to a boxing gym and have wars in the gym sparring. So I've been through the deep end already when it comes to like training, like 8-mile runs, hard sparring with national champions, amateur wrestling, doing all these physical stuff, like demanding, like. So my brain is already programmed. At the same time, when I was younger, my dad used to take me to the gym and make me watch him. Grab me, put him in the chair, and make me watch him and train. So I was already surrounded by people that do all these physical stuff. So it wasn't really a hard transition. And plus, I was a fan first.
Of course. And
I know myself, when I get into something, it's very hard to stop me. Whoever knows the Smash One really knows me, which is only people think that only a few people know me like this. When I want something, I get it. I want it. So I just said, you know what? I'm gonna put my. It's not going to be a hot effort. Just be consistent.
Yeah.
I said, watch when I get into this. In a few years, people will remember my name.
Absolutely. And like I say, 2019 was your breakout year. It was your debut year. But I think very early on, you faced Tate Mayfair, as you mentioned
That was
Tate a
my
moment ago.
debut.
Your debut, tell us about that, because obviously, as I said, he's tearing it up across the UK now. Made his Progress debut earlier on in the year, recently been on NXT UK, tearing up all over the country. But even then, he must have still had kind of been a very talented newcomer himself. But what was that like? What was your debut match like?
I remember this. So before that, it was February the 2nd. Hustle had this wrestling, had their show. And I was in the Rumble, came in, blasted out. Everyone came up to me, he's like, Mike, what was that? That was a great thing you did. Then I got offered, hey, Mike, are you ready for your debut? March the 30th. I'm like, yeah, I'm born ready for this. I bring a lot of people for that. I could bring way more, but just at the time, so people couldn't get the time off. Bring so many people. And when I came, it was against Tate Mayfair. And the crowd lost it. Like when I came, everyone, yo, I was like, I wasn't nervous at all because, like I said, I was a fan and I was ready for this. I was just a fan. People don't understand. I'm a big fan of wrestling. And I'm like, this is Mike. He's born to do this.
But they popped for you on your debut.
Yeah, like won it, came back, went backstage. Another person that influenced me to stay longer was Gabriel Kidd. He was there. And he came up to me, pulled me and said, Mike, what was that? Oh my gosh, that was great. This and that. I was like, whoa. I'm like, thanks, bro. I just met him that day and he went ballistic. He's like, Mike, that was great. Continue doing this. Make sure you don't quit. I've got so much belief in you. I was like, wow. I just met the guy today and he's saying all this stuff to me. I said, thank you, sir. Brother, I appreciate it. And that gave me the edge to just like, push even more harder. I was going to continue, but push more. Push it more.
Oh, 100%. And like I say, getting a pat on the back and extra motivation from Gabriel Kidd. I think that was probably just before he went to Japan as well.
Yeah.
So perfect timing for you.
I was one of his last few wrestlers before he went to Japan.
That's great to be endorsed by Gabriel Kidd. I've seen him wrestle this year, and he's like chiseled out of stone and granite, and he hits bloody hard. But and then Progress happens. The same year, 2019, I think you touched on it very early on, but you was in a dark match, in a pre-show match for Progress in 2019. Man, opportunities like that don't come across every single day, especially in your first year, Mike. You must have been blown away to have had that opportunity.
I was thankful, blown away, but also like kind of rewarding, like because I was always consistent. Bringing people to wrestling shows, that's another thing. I bring people. People tend to forget. Like Steven is not even my era, but people are traveling to come and watch me wrestle. People tend to forget about these type of stuff. So I'm bringing audiences to their shows as well. So like when I went to Progress, I got told in a week before. I wasn't nervous, but at the same time, because I've been through a lot where false hopes. Oh, Mike, gonna do this with boxing or this. I'm like, and it never fell through.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, whatever. Here's what happens. Went there. Then a buzz kicked in. When I was warming up, I'm like, yes, I'm ready. Had a match with another talented guy called Adam Ralph. When we came back, it was like, for a pre-show, that is loud. Like, for a pre-show, they said, that is one of the loudest we ever heard in a long time. I'm not being biased enough. We had one of the loudest ovations when we wrestled, we did. And that was just the pre-show, not the main show. And it was such a great time, but I was super green. Just imagine me now if I did that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And no doubt, I'm sure Progress will be calling the Smashing Ones soon. But I think, the fans just love you and gravitate towards you because of your charisma. You've got a swagger to you. You're great in the ring, a great look. So, like you say, a natural, dare I say it, in the ring. Like I say, you're getting better and better and better all the time. I want to talk about UBW, though. We touched on it earlier, one half of the current UBW Tag Champs. But UBW... they've been very good to you, and they're probably they are your home, yeah. Like I say, and I think that UBW and Smashing Mike, they go hand in hand nowadays. But they came calling fairly early on in your career, and they've been there throughout, haven't they? So UBW and Smashing Mike have got a great relationship.
Shout out to Port Ash, that's my guy. That's my guy. He's okay. Another thing as well, I need to put in this out. He's the one that's made the Smash on who he is today as well. He's involving the guy because he knows me as a person as well.
Yeah.
He doesn't change me. So I need to shout out to Paul Ash. He's helped me so much now as being the performer I am today. I can't take for me. I love to give credit. I know he hates compliment. Paul Ash, you're getting a compliment, brother. He's helped me a lot, a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think almost straight away with UBW, you were in the title picture for the Young Lions title. So, I mean, like I said earlier, you're synonymous with that championship, and almost from day one with UBW, Smashing Mike chasing the title. You eventually won the title, lost it through Hustle Malone cheating, of course. But they've given you some great opportunities and some great stories there, haven't they? And I think one thing I've learned about UBW, interviewing some of their stars, is that they always put in the time and the effort to give everybody a something to get their teeth into and a good storyline, don't they?
Yes, but sorry to interrupt you.
No,
during that time when I was Young Lions champion, everyone knows that. You can't deny it, I was the most dominating champion in that company. It was not just anyone can have a match, but it's quality of matches against the opposition. Every match was different. I remember everyone's like, Mike, we know you can wrestle, but let me see some character in you. And I'm like, really? You don't know who I am? Like, I got big balls of character. So I'll show it to you. So I'll give you an example, like my title reign. So the first one was a triple threat against Memes and Adam Ralph. Stole the show, was on first. Of course, you got to start the show hot. How else are you going to start the show with a smash one? Young Lion champion, first show back. Let's start hot. We stole the show. But at the end of the day, who won? Me. And I bring people there as well. People tend to forget that. I bring people, that's not even my area, but I bring like over 15 people there that day. Some of my friends traveled to come, and it took them almost 2 hours.
Hell there, yeah.
Won that. Then this is the match that took her to another level. Was another good friend, Tom Kyle. So when the match got announced, everyone's like, "Oh my gosh, you lot are gonna steal the show." But I got a confession. That's the only time I've been in the ring nervous.
Really? Why was that?
It's my best friend, Tom Kyle. So like, literally, everyone knows how good he is. People know how good I am. So you put that in there. That's just destined to be a classic. Yeah. And it was just the pressure of both of us to deliver. And I was like, oh my gosh, me and Tom are wrestling each other. And he said the same thing. He kind of felt nervous because everyone's like, there was big stars in that show. You need to remember, there was Clementine, there was Charles Craig, there was Warren Banks who's tearing up the game, CJ Carter. But who was the talk of the town after?
The Smashing one.
And Tom Kyle. And now the same day, they had to travel to go to Wrestle to wrestle for the heavyweight championship the same day. So I couldn't even enjoy the fruits of my labor. I had to travel. My best friend had to come and join me. I had to travel to Essex the same day to wrestle. I did. People tend to forget about that. Did I get tired? No, because we don't get tired.
We're kind of closing in on the end of this episode of Wrestling with John, so I've got a couple more questions for you, Mike. First of all, like I say, you've been in the game a few years now. You've been killing it since day one, getting better every single day. I do honestly think you're kind of forming into the total package, the charisma, the ability behind the mic, in the ring, the moves, the matches, everything. If you were to list maybe your top 2 or 3 opponents who you think you've had some of your best or maybe favorite matches with, who would you throw out there?
Easy. I got favorite match already. My best singles match is CJ Carter. That match, because like I said, my family and friends traveled over an hour to watch it. The card was stacked. I'm sorry, this might sound arrogant, but no one that day, I don't care who was on that card, was going to match me and CJ. It wasn't even going to come close. Because at the end of the day, this was my 5th defense for the title. It was my hardest opponent, and I'm going to go for the fight. And at the end of it, when the crowd lost their mind, they blew the roof off the place. And at the end of it, everyone was like backstage, like, you lot just took things to a whole new level. So that's my favorite singles match. The best tag match, that's why I said I want the rematch, is me, JT, against Destination Everywhere. Those are my favorite matches. Tom Kyle's in there, that one. The Rebellion. I got to put the Rebellion match in there. It's just fun. If I say one more, it's a tie. It's between Mark Hughes and Ignite because it was just so much fun. And I had a match with Jack Landers in WrestleForce, and everyone came up to us like, Mike, do you know what you lot just did? I'm like, no. they're like, that was the best match you ever had at the time. Like Tom Carl says that was your best match. But those are my 5 favorite.
Absolutely. And to back you up, I've seen a lot of their matches because a lot of them are available on your YouTube channel. So if you go onto YouTube, search Smashing Mike, click onto his channel. A lot of their matches, Jack Landers and many others, are up there available to see in full. So don't miss out on the Smashing one and some of his best matches that he's just read out there. But final question for me then. And I think another part of kind of what makes Smashing Mike so special is the fans and the fan support and the love that the fans have for you. And I think that gives you an extra 5%, an extra 10% when, you know, the going gets tough in the ring, and it allows you to come back and do what you do best. But what do the fans mean to you? You say that you kind of bring in a lot of fan support, but I think when you go out there, like I say, the charisma, the presence, you know, the swagger, the moves, everything about Smashing Mike just wants to get people up off their chairs, doesn't it?
Fans mean a lot because you need to remember as well, they paid their hard-earned money to go and watch the wrestling. So when I'm on the card, I want, if they paid like £20, £10, whatever they paid, I'm going to make sure at the end of the day, that money is worth value to what they paid. They come to watch wrestling, I'm going to give them wrestling. They want to be entertained, I'm going to give them entertainment in and out of the ring. And that's only few people can have that. Smashing one's got it because I got my dad genetics and my mom's charisma. You pile that into one, that's the Smashing one.
Unstoppable force for sure. And like I say, final question, but what does the future hold for the Smashing one then? Obviously, you got a lot of gold around your shoulders at the minute. Wrestle Tag Team Champions, former Young Lions champion, current UBW Tag Team Champs, a very, very bright future. And I can see you're only scratching the surface of what you're capable of and what you got to give us over the next few years. But do you have any goals, any desires, any things you want to do in your wrestling career?
Yes, me and JT are going to be the most promising, but we're going to be the most dominating. We're going to be the most exciting, and we're going to be the rewarding tag team in the game. So British wrestling, step your game up because the West Side Heat are ready to take over. Whatever you want, we can give you. You want entertainment outside the ring? We can. You want hardball? You can. You want fast pace? We can. At the end of the day, we ain't going to get tired. So step your game up. I want in a few years, I want me and JT, Westside Heat, to be in progress and Red Pro regular basis because we're putting those type of matches up. We want to be a regular there and in the big leagues. We 100%. Want to be there. And when we get there, it's gonna be a hard journey, but it's gonna be very rewarding. And when we get there,
it's gonna be game over.
What did I say now? Right there.
I just stole your catchphrase, but like I say, that's what it will be. It will be game over. Mike, it's been amazing speaking to you for the last 48 minutes. Time has absolutely flown. But before we let you go, an opportunity for you to throw out any socials. Where can my listeners reach out to you on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, your YouTube channel, any merch, anything you want to plug? The floor is yours, my friend.
As you said, merch is right here. I'm going to get some more at the moment. Smashing
100%.
One. Levels to this. You're gonna see me in a lot of shows, like you'll see me in Hustle
running along the bottom of the screen as well.
Oh yeah,
got all your socials.
All my socials are there as well, as you can see. I'm very active in all of them, so you can always contact me in all of these. I'm very active in all of them. You'll see me a lot in. I've got so many shows coming up, like Ignite this Sunday. Got Rumble Promotion on Saturday with JT, my tag partner. I'm on the Hustle show. You won't see any of them. You won't regret. You know why? Because there's levels to this, and me and Nino, my family and friends are coming to that because they know that me and Nino are gonna tear it up. So whatever money you pay to watch, you're not gonna regret it.
100%. But Smashing Mike, you've been a fabulous guest. I wish you nothing but the best for the future, and thanks for coming on the show, my friend.
I appreciate it. Also, don't forget to follow my boy JT. You'll see him on his social media accounts as well because there's levels to this, and we're gonna take over the game.
100% Westside Heat. But Smashing Mike, thank you very much.
Love you lot. God bless you lot. Happy